We have a couple of people who won last round. We have Paul Rietzl, Magic the Gathering pro player extraordinaire, joining us against Michael Majors for round one. And we're taking a look at Paul's deck list from the draft, and he appears to be pretty heavy in the wild.
Yeah, the one thing that really sticks out to me just looking at this list are the two lashes. I mean, Lash is a pretty pretty great card to have up your sleeve, and having two of them is something that your opponent is not going to expect. But it's always possible in a cube draft to pull more than one copy of certain cards, and Lash is definitely a card that you want to have multiple copies of.
Yeah, I've had multiple of the competitors over the course of the season tell me that their favorite limited card to get is Lash. I've had people mulligan their limited LCQ deck lists if it didn't have Lash in it. And I don't know if that's an overreaction, but I think it speaks to the quality of the card to be able to, especially if your opponent does not have discard pile effects, control and dictate the pace of combat. So while we've been setting things up, Muse was played. Muse was very instantly killed with a flash fire. We're at 28 each. Paul is playing a Strafing Dragon, and importantly, he's showing Bellowing Minotaur and what's that other card? He's leaning over. I can't quite see it. Is that? What is that?
Savage Uprising.
Oh man! So Savage Uprising, one of the cards from Uprising, Dinosaur Punch. Savage Uprising will allow him later in the game to either try and close out the match or to sweep up the board. And let's see, he's facing...
Yeah, I think so far what's happened, Paul's in a little bit of a predicament here. I mean, he managed to clear that Noble Martyr off the board, but the Noble Unicorn that's still out right there, as long as it's in play, whenever Michael plays a good card that costs a gold, he gets to draw another card, and he's already drawn two off of it. For one when he played it, one when he played the Noble Martyr, which we saw earlier, and that Noble Martyr has an ally ability from the discard pile. If Michael plays a good card that costs a gold, he'll draw a card for the Noble Unicorn still in play, and he'll have the option of making five human tokens from that Noble Martyr. Killing that with the Strafing Dragon does not remove it from play, and he's already used his flash fire, so he might not have another option for clearing away all the small minions.
So we see Michael attacking with his Noble Unicorn, because Paul's just keeping those cards visible gentlemanly. It's unclear what's going on here. So I think he attacked. There, okay. So Noble Unicorn attacked on the prior turn. We've changed turns. Paul attacked with the Strafing Dragon, and it found a Drain Essence. I think Drain Essence is going to end up being one of the MVP cards of the entire weekend in every format.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of cards that let you break a champion don't give you a big benefit, especially if you use them on your opponent's turn. Some of them even have a drawback. And Drain Essence gives you that 9 health. It really gives you an extra turn at the very least a lot of the time, just giving you that buffer that prevents you from getting burned out by flame strikes and fires of rebellion, and even just blitz champions. Your opponent can't make those risky all-in plays if they know you'll still be alive to hit them back.
Absolutely. So here we see the Noble Martyr being banished, and he gets out a couple of tokens, and Gold Dragon is a serious threat, especially not facing any airborne blockers right now, and with none showing. So that is 6/8 Righteous, which means he's going to gain health and extend this lead even further if Rietzl does not have a response.
I mean, in my opinion, even if he has a good answer that gets rid of the Gold Dragon, which it looks like he does, He's still in trouble with that Noble Unicorn. Every turn it stays out has potential to draw Michael into more cards.
Yep.
And if every card that Michael plays, Paul plays a card to get rid of, but, Michael draws a card for that.
So do you get rid of Noble Unicorn there with the Necrovirus instead of the Gold Dragon?
I mean, at this point, I think that Michael is very far ahead in health, and that extra 6 isn't going to make that big of a difference.
Although taking 6 would have put Rietzl into down to 16 health. 16 is one of the magic numbers in Epic, because then you're in Flamestrike territory. I don't know if he has Flamestrike in his deck or a way to get it back, but that's a common closing maneuver.
While that is the case, I think that if Paul has to look at what's on the board right now and think, how am I going to win this game? Certainly, getting rid of that Gold Dragon means that his opponent isn't going to gain a lot of health off of it. Giving all of his champions Righteous means those human tokens have Righteous.
Pardon me here. There's even more health. There's a second, I believe that's Second Wind.
Absolutely.
It's going to go up to 42 and another card draw. And he'll still be ready to recycle again once Second Wind's in the discard pile.
Yeah, it looks like he's even looking for a good card that he could play that would be relevant here and cash in that draw off of the Noble Unicorn. I mean, he has plenty of health to spare, so he's not too worried about, taking the damage here or even just blocking with a human token. But the question is, what does he want to get? How is he going to develop this board in a way that deals with the demon tokens that Paul is starting to develop? And so Michael still hasn't spent his gold yet. Neither has Paul. He played the Necrovirus on Michael's turn, and now he's attacking before spending his gold. It looks like he's trying to bait Michael into possibly blocking with his champion.
Is that a bodyguard?
Absolutely, that's a bodyguard. Looks like Michael is going all in on this this good deck plan.
He apparently was the good player on the table, and I've cube drafted several times, and pack drafted beyond just the cube drafts, and it's a skill that I'm still trying to develop, reading your opponents. But if you can get a read, and if you're one of the 1 or 2 people on the table that's drafting the majority of the good cards, as you can see here, he's on the card draw train, and he's maximized the ally abilities over and over and over again. And when he plays another good card, he's going to get that bodyguard right back and draw a card.
Yeah, and he hasn't spent his gold yet. I mean, Paul is really trying to just find a way out of this situation, but I mean, he's got 1 card in his hand. His opponent knows what it is. As the phrase go, all of his cards are on the table.
Looks like that Bellowing Minotaur is actually going to accomplish his mission, which is a rare feat in Epic. Those Minotaurs rarely actually get there.
Alright, so it looks like he's going to play the Siren Song and steal his opponent's Fire Shaman.
I mean, that's a fine play, especially knowing that Rietzl doesn't have any other relevant cards in hand. You might as well just do it, I suppose. And here comes the Noble Unicorn, and that's going to get there.
Yeah, I mean, knowing that he has the Savage Uprising, if he plays the clear for the 1-cost champions, then he still now has the Fire Shaman, his tokens, the bodyguard, and anything else. But
Siren Song, one of the new cards in the Uprising set. Being able to steal or draw 2. One of the things we've noticed over the year of Epic is the power of those free champions. Not just the obvious ones with Muse, but most of them.
So I see the card coming down now. I guess he's looking at his opponent. He sees that Savage Uprising, and even if Paul decides to go in and clear the board off here, his opponent will still have the Fire Shaman, the Bodyguard, both the human tokens, and the Kark. and it'll leave Paul with just the
Yeah.
2 demon tokens.
Yeah, Kark has the hidden other mode of just being a big champion and gaining you a small amount of health sometimes.
And sometimes, you look at your opponent's side of the board, and if you know everything in their hand, you can just play around it. Like, I have a big champion, and a lot of the time, playing a big champion by itself isn't very good, but if I know you don't have a good answer for it, then a big champion is all it takes.
There appears to be some ruling here. Maybe he didn't draw a card correctly off of Kark.
Yes, I believe he's looking at whether or not he can draw the card before he chooses which cards to reveal with loyalty from the Kark.
And he can.
Absolutely. If the card he draws is a good card, he can reveal that as one of the options. And because of the way that you get to choose the order of your abilities, when he plays the card, he gets to return the bodyguard to his hand and then show that as one of the cards for loyalty to gain the health.
And one of the differences between the way, wow,
Well,
that's a flush.
All right, so given all
Gain
the
12
health,
and like it.
given all the health that he's gained, I mean, having that 60 isn't actually that far off,
Yeah.
If only he'd gained a little bit more.
So I'm looking through Michael Major's drafted cards, trying to see if there's any way for him to return. Doesn't look like there's a way for him to return Kark either from his discard pile. There is not. So he's committed Kark here, so he's not going to win via the much ballyhooed tribute ability, our first and so far only alternate win condition card.
Well, I mean, looking at his list, it looks like he is playing Final Task. So, he could have.
My reading abilities are amazing.
If his opponent actually manages to clear the Kark and he has
it's
the
even
Final
worse
Task
than
in
that.
his
It's
hand.
true. If he plays Final Task here, that would be if Kark were to die, were to be broken, and then it was brought back with Final Task and it revealed the same 6 cards. He would be, because I don't believe he's currently at 38. I believe he's going to be at 50 when all of this is through being resolved.
Yeah, so I would like to address the chat here.
And they're scooping it up. Paul's looking at the clock.
Yes.
And decides it's discretion's the better part of valor, and let's go to game 2.
So just looking at the chat here, someone suggested, well, why not just attack with the Avenging Angel? But again, we have to consider that Michael knows everything that's in Paul's hand. So say Michael plays the Avenging Angel and swings. That lets Paul clear the Avenging Angel as well as the Noble Unicorn with the Savage Uprising, and that doesn't help. Win the game for Michael there. It just lets the Savage Uprising do something else. Whereas the Kark is just a champion that will threaten to deal with Paul and block his champions, and kind of solidifies that win there. There's no way that Michael is going to not have a champion in play if he's going to have the Fire Shaman, the tokens, and the Kark, even if, say, his Paul plays Savage Uprising, draws into, say, a Flash Fire and clears the board, or a Pyrosaur, then, he could still try and get back on the board with those demon tokens, but by playing the Kark, he has a huge body which he can block the champions with.
So let's talk about how Paul is going to, if you're sitting in Paul Rietzl's seat with his deck, how does he claw his way back in? Now, as we discussed before, he's on 2 lash, and he has a fair amount of beef. Is that the way? Or Gladius the Defender is no joke. Neither is Reaper, neither is Dracus Enforcer. And he's got a pair of Misguided Heralds to throw and look for them.
Yeah, well, I think looking at his list, he's going to have a harder time dealing with his opponent's deck if he's going to rely on that direct damage, and his opponent is playing a lot of health gain here.
So here's Michael Majors going first. Gold Dragon. And
Yeah, honestly, I think that's a bit of a risky play.
That's an incredibly risky play. And Majors did this in the last game. He led the first card he played in the entire match was Muse, which is, in my experience, the most dangerous time to play it. It's most likely to get killed when your opponent is up a handful of cards. When they haven't removed a single threat yet, they're obviously gonna remove the Muse, but no removal for Gold Dragon here. So that is a 12-point swing to begin the game. So
Yeah.
that play makes a lot of sense if he has Kark in his hand. If he thinks he can just get there quick, a couple of quick attacks, ignore what Rietzl's doing. I don't predict that, but that's really the only reason I can see this. All right, so here's Muse, as I was discussing. Majors only has the 4 cards now, and none of them are going to remove the Muse. So Rietzl's way ahead on cards. He's behind on health, but he has the tools in his hand, maybe, to get back into this.
I mean, the Muse is going to do work here if it sticks around. Based on what we saw from the previous game, it didn't look like Michael had a lot of zero-cost removal for Paul's champions, but if he draws that Siren Song, things could go pretty badly for him. So looking at his hand, he has a lot of aggressive champions. The Dark Offering, while normally a little bit awkward to play, he might be able to play that with the Misguide Heralds.
That's my favorite card to offer up.
Yeah, I mean, if it deals with threats, then it works, right? He plays the Misguide Herald now. On his opponent's turn, he can either chump or block. Or if when his opponent plays a champion, he can Dark Offering that
so
Misguide Herald.
Here we see Misguide Herald. If we can zoom in and see these 5 cards, we've got...
It looks like we have Wolf's Call, Necrovirus, Muse, Inner Demon, and Pack Alpha. So, it's pretty strong that Paul has the second Muse in his pack, but it's not really what he wants to get off here. If he gets that Muse and his opponent has any sort of answer that can clear off his board, it's going to look very bad for him. So he goes with the safer option of pulling out the 2 Wolves. Gives him plenty of blockers, and he might even be able to pull off a stronger attack later in the game if his opponent doesn't have a good way to clear off all the small minions.
So let's talk about what's on the board right here. That looks like a Urgent Messengers to draw 2 cards, put 2 humans on the board. This human's not currently relevant. However, in Major's deck list, he has Justice Prevails, one of the hallmark key cards of the new set. I'm very interested to see if we see it in constructed play tomorrow in the top 8.
Yes, well, probably my favorite part about Justice Prevails is that you don't actually need to use it with human tokens.
Nope.
Say that you have...
Works with Muse, works with Dark Knight, works with...
Yeah.
I mean...
Absolutely, say you
works
have...
with your wolves.
Yeah, your opponent uses, say, Wave of Transformation or a Zombie Apocalypse on you, and they think they're all set, and then your turn comes around, and suddenly your 2/2s are 5/5s with Righteous, and you gain 15 health off of that.
I've responded to Zombie Apocalypse with Justice Prevails, and the look on my opponent's face, who shall remain nameless, was rather shocking. It was great.
All right, so he's put in a bit of a pickle here because he could throw up the Misguide Heralds.
You got to throw the Misguide Herald in front of there, right?
Well, he has the Dark Offering in his hand, so maybe he just is really hoping that his opponent plays a valuable champion here, and then he can get the Dark Offering out. I mean, he's behind on the board pretty heavily, but actually it looks like he got punished pretty big for that. Not blocking, his opponent got the 12-point swing, and then all of his champions get banished here. So Michael's very happy with that attack.
Yeah, Day of Judgment, the
Divine Judgment.
Divine Judgment.
Although here it's more of a he's being judged pretty harshly, I feel like.
It's a harsh judgment.
I mean, Michael is playing the good deck.
Alright, so we're showing Fire Shaman. Alright, so showing Fire Shaman to meet the loyalty requirements of Draka's Enforcer is a tell that he did not have any other wild cards in his deck. If he had played Fire Shaman first, he would have been able to chip in 3 damage. Of course, because that is a tell, that might be a misdirection tell, where he's showing this card, which had an obvious use, and by not doing it implies that he doesn't have any other wild cards, which then further gives him the opportunity to have other cards hidden.
Right, and then here he has the Strafing Dragon, which he didn't show. But actually, I really like Banishment here. It deals with the threat, and it lets him draw a card. And the Banishment is really, really amazing when you can play it on your opponent's turn and draw that card. But if he saves it for his opponent's turn, he's going to have a hard time playing it again.
Is Banishment in Michael's hand? I just didn't see it.
His other option, of course, is to go ahead and play the Strafing Dragon, hit the Noble Unicorn and Flash Fire.
No, but he's not. He's going to go with Infernal Gatekeeper, one of the bigger champions you can play on your turn. It's putting 13 offense and defense on the table out of one card, but it's putting it in 2 pieces, which usually is better than just one big body. If you look at Paul's deck, he has 5, let's see, he has 6, I think 6 or 7 other cards that will trigger an evil loyalty ability to spit out more of those demons.
I think maybe he's hoping that his opponent will spend his gold first, and then he'll really be able to capitalize on that, because Michael's definitely going to want to use his gold first so he can get that extra draw off of the Noble Unicorn. But if Paul can turn that around, if say, for example, like as he's doing now,
he has 2 choice targets for that Dark Offering.
Right, he dark offers either of his champions, gets another demon token. That'd probably be like a best case scenario for a Dark Offering.
So what are you Dark Offering here? If you Dark Offering the Gatekeeper, you'll still get your demon, but then you will not get any more of them. But then you'll still have an airborne champion. If you Gatekeeper away the Dracus Enforcer, of course, you will keep your Gatekeeper, giving the ability to create more demons on the ground, but then, obviously, you don't have anything in the air. What would you do here in this board state?
Oh, definitely the Infernal Gatekeeper. I mean, you still get the demon token out of it, but using it, the Infernal Gatekeeper is less relevant just because we know it's in Paul's hand. He doesn't have any other evil 1-cost cards, so he's not going to get any more demons out of it based on what he has in his hand. And we've also seen lots of human tokens from Michael.
Strafing Dragon comes down.
Yeah, so it looks like he's going to try and use the Strafing Dragon here to block the Angel.
So he's got Tribute or Loyalty Strafing Dragon damage, block with the Strafing Dragon.
Alright, so with this alternate play, I think what he's looking is...
Oh, no, I apologize. He killed the Angel with the Tribute and a Flash Fires.
Yep. What's interesting, though, is that it looks like he's going for a very aggressive play. He's trying to close this game out, and by doing that, he's putting a bunch of pressure on the board and hitting his opponent's face. I'm not sure how I feel about that play. I think it's very all-in.
It is.
And, if he has, some kind of extra damage, say maybe his opponent doesn't want to block with the Noble Unicorn, so, given what he has on the board right now, that's 22 damage. He's 11 off of it.
Oof.
But, you're
Inner
playing
Peace, gain 10, draw a card.
You're playing against a deck. You've seen the Second Wind. You've seen the fact that they have lots of good cards. You've seen cards like Bodyguard. I think that holding on to your position and trying to, at least try to fight in the card advantage war is definitely something that that matters in this game. Not dealing with that Noble Unicorn. It's drawn so many cards, and it stopped 9 damage, so it's kind of like another inner piece in and of itself.
Gatekeeper attacking and Noble Unicorn being thrown in front of it would be a signal to me that a wipe is incoming, probably on Michael's next turn, but we'll see. If I'm Paul here, I don't play anything else.
Oh yeah, definitely. You want to drop something that gives you card advantage, or takes advantage of whatever Michael's going to play. So based on what he's played so far, it looks like he's all in on the good plan. So I wouldn't be surprised if he had a Vanish All effect. I mean, we've seen the Divine Judgment, but Quell and Inherence to the Meek are both other options. In fact, Inherence to the Meek is actually fantastic on this board, right? Because he keeps the Demon token and clears off his opponent's minions.
So you guessed it half right. So he is running Quell. He does not have inheritance.
Right, and Quell is
And
fantastic
and
here.
hey, look, here's Quell.
It just kills off his opponent's board. He gets the 4/4. He can put pressure on his opponent. He can pass. He doesn't have any
And,
really bad options
no,
right now.
and it recalls the inner piece. And I like, by the way, that they're both keeping the revealed card revealed to just save time versus writing down all of the cards and all of that. That's the way I play it at home, anyways.
Yeah, I mean, okay, so here Michael almost definitely doesn't attack. I mean, it's worse against, say, Ceasefire, but his opponent has anything else. He might as well get some information out of what his opponent's going to play. Paul definitely needs to do something to get back on the board here.
There's a Wolf's Call during Michael's turn, I believe. And yes,
Yeah.
that was during Michael's turn. And so now we're over to Paul, who is attacking. He's just going to soak up a blocker with that attack by itself. And now we're going to have the Bad Ninja Party. Wolves coming in one at a time.
Now, I'm not quite sure what's in his hand, but I think based on his options, he could even play the Fire Shaman.
Is that surprise attack?
Yes, it is, and he's putting in a Marcus, which actually clears off the wolf tokens.
Oof.
No break for Paul today. That's probably about as brutal as it can get. He draws a card off of that. He kills all 3 of his opponent's attackers, and now he has something to stick in the way of a huge attacker if his opponent just happens to have a rampaging worm or something.
Surprise! It's a watch captain. Those wolves, I see them, and now I don't see them.
Oh yeah, those wolves got arrested very hard.
They were seen right out of the city of Covenant.
Kicked right out. The demon's good though.
The demon's good.
Demon, well, controlled by a siren, it's all right. Law overruns everything. So it looks like what he's going to go for here is probably kill the Marcus, draw a card, and with the Fire Shaman. Fires the Rebellion.
Oh, Fires the Rebellion.
Yeah, the Fires the Rebellion is good here. It lets him keep up on card advantage, which I think is something that he hasn't been doing this game.
To be clear, the Fires of Rebellion deal almost enough damage. The ally ability from Fire Shaman finishes him off.
Right, and it's exactly enough. The 7 and the 3 together are exactly enough. And, he's getting kind of low. He's down at 8, but we know their opponent has, Blitz champions in their deck. He has the Bodyguard. He has the 7/4 with Blitz. That's unbanishable.
So I want to take this moment here as Paul's looking at cards. So Michael has now revealed 4 of the 6 or 7 cards. I think it's 6. He's now revealed so much information. So this is a good news, bad news situation. The good news with loyalty is that anytime you can take advantage of a loyalty ability or recalling something to your hand, you're maximizing value. You're getting more out of the cards than you otherwise would get. The bad news is, especially when you're playing against a very talented opponent, the more information your opponent has of the cards in your hand, the more likely they are to take advantage of that. And I know Paul's been studying hard. I spoke with him yesterday. He's super excited about getting into this, and it shows with his 1-0 record. But all of this information in Paul's hand, or in particular in his head, maybe he can solve this puzzle. And it's a tough one, because he's down a game and he's down almost 30 health. But we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, looking at his opponent,
there's a card that wasn't revealed.
Yeah.
Lurking Giant.
I mean, I think that as far as things go, actually, this is a pretty good scenario for Paul. I mean, here he can capitalize on it again.
To echo something you said during the draft coverage, so there was the perfect setup you were talking about for banishment. Although he's playing from behind, banishment to remove your opponent's ambush champion is a great way to continue to clear the path, continue the card flow, and so we just saw it right there.
And we know he has unbanishable cards in his deck, so I think actually that went very, very, very well, just because, if his opponent dropped that...
Rietzl's down to 4.
If his opponent dropped that Angel of Mercy...
Oh, Angel of Mercy.
And he doesn't have a good answer for it, like, say Paul passes, Michael's like, fine, I'll draw my card, and then he hits him for 4 again. Or even if Paul plays a threat, and then, Michael follows up with the Angel of Light into the Kark, then he's just going to be very... very threatened, just because that's lethal right there. Even the demon token and the Angel of Mercy can finish you off if you're not careful.
So while we were discussing, there was uh, second wind, gaining 5 health,
Yep, and
and
right
then
into that Misguide
misguide
Herald, which hits
into.
the 7 attack champion, and he's going to have to answer this one if he attacks with it. He can't banish it, so if he has like lying in wait, it's Noble Martyr.
Yep.
But it looks like he doesn't choose to attack, and Paul's actually fine with that. I mean, I think he's thinking about, well, what do I have in my hand? I don't have a good answer for that, and if his opponent decided to attack with that Noble Martyr, he still would have
Oh, and there is
lost.
the
But
handshake. So Michael Majors with, I have to be honest, we'll try and get this list up overnight, an outstanding draft, and he's going to advance into the Dark Draft rounds 2-0, and setting himself up for a good day one of this Epic World Championship.